Maya Chin sat in seat 9C, her headphones blocking out the drone of the Boeing 737's engines. At 17, she looked younger than her age, small frame, oversized university hoodie, hair pulled back in a messy ponytail. Her backpack was wedged under the seat in front of her, stuffed with textbooks and a worn flight simulator manual she'd been studying since she was 12. The flight from Seattle to Denver was supposed to be routine, 2 hours, maybe less, with favorable winds. Maya had made this trip dozens of times, visiting her grandmother every summer since she was 8. But this time felt different. Her grandmother had passed away 3 weeks ago, and Maya was flying back to clear out the old woman's apartment. In her lap sat a small wooden box carved with intricate patterns. Inside were her grandmother's pilot wings from the 1970s, from a time when women in aviation were rare as snow in July. Maya traced the metal wings with her thumb, remembering the stories of emergency landings, of navigating through storms, of staying calm when everyone else panicked. "She taught you well," her grandfather had said when he handed Maya the box. "You have her hands, steady hands." But Maya didn't feel steady. She felt hollow, like someone had scooped out her insides and left only the shell. The flight simulator sessions that used to excite her now felt pointless. What was the point of learning to fly when the person who inspired her was gone? The seatbelt sign dinged off, and a flight attendant named Jessica walked down the aisle, her smile practiced and professional. She was young, maybe mid-20s, with blonde hair tied in a tight bun and eyes that looked tired despite the makeup. "Anything to drink, sweetie?" Jessica asked, pausing at Maya's row. "Just water, please," Maya said, pulling off one headphone. Jessica handed her a plastic cup. "You okay? You look a little sad." Maya forced a smile. "I'm fine, just tired." Jessica nodded but didn't push. She'd learned early in her career that passengers didn't always want to talk. She moved on to the next row, where a businessman in an expensive suit barely looked up from his laptop. In row 12, a mother struggled with twin toddlers who kept throwing their sippy cups on the floor. In row 15, an elderly couple held hands, their fingers intertwined like they'd done this 1,000 times. In row 22, near the back, a college student was already asleep, his mouth open, drooling slightly onto his neck pillow. The plane was maybe 2/3 full, 78 passengers total, plus a crew of 5. Captain Richard Foster was flying today, a veteran with 30 years of experience. His co-pilot was Amanda Price, newer but competent, with 5 years under her belt and a reputation for staying cool under pressure. In the cockpit, Captain Foster adjusted his headset and glanced at the instrument panel. Everything looked normal. Altitude steady at 35,000 feet, airspeed 480 knots, weather ahead clear with just a few scattered clouds. He'd flown this route so many times he could probably do it blindfolded. "Beautiful day for flying," Amanda said, her hands resting lightly on the controls. "Every day is beautiful when you're up here," Foster replied. He was in his late 50s, with gray hair and laugh lines around his eyes. Flying was the only thing he'd ever wanted to do. And even after 3 decades, the thrill never faded. Amanda smiled. She liked Foster. He wasn't like some of the older captains who treated co-pilots like glorified button pushers. He actually taught her things, shared his knowledge freely. "Want to grab some coffee?" Foster asked. "I could use a refill." "Sure, I'll call Jessica," Amanda said, reaching for the intercom. But before she could press the button, Foster's hand went to his chest. His face twisted, mouth opening in a silent gasp, the color draining from his cheeks. "Captain," Amanda's voice sharpened. "Rick." Foster didn't answer. His hand clutched his chest tighter, his breathing coming in short, desperate bursts. Then his eyes rolled back and he slumped forward against the controls. The plane lurched. Amanda's training kicked in instantly. She grabbed Foster's shoulder, pulling him back from the yoke. The plane had dipped just enough to make the seatbelt signs flicker on. "Rick." "Captain Foster." She shook him, but he was completely unresponsive. His lips had a bluish tint. A heart attack, it had to be. Amanda's hands moved fast. She pressed the autopilot button, stabilizing the aircraft, then hit the intercom for the cabin crew. "Jessica, medical emergency in the cockpit. I need you up here now." In the cabin, Jessica's face went pale. a medical emergency in the cockpit could mean only one thing. She grabbed the first aid kit and the AED, moving quickly toward the front. Passengers started noticing something was wrong. The plane had wobbled, not much, but enough. A few people looked around nervously. The businessman in row 8 pulled off his headphones. "Did you feel that?" he asked the woman next to him. She nodded, gripping her armrest. "What was that?" Maya felt it too. Her simulator training had taught her to recognize the subtle movements of an aircraft. That wasn't turbulence, that was a loss of control, corrected quickly. Something was wrong. Jessica reached the cockpit door, knocked twice, and entered. What she saw made her stomach drop. Captain Foster was unconscious, strapped in his seat, his face gray. Amanda was flying the plane alone, her knuckles white on the controls. "Is he breathing?" Amanda asked, not taking her eyes off the instruments. Jessica checked his pulse. Weak but present. "Barely. I think it's his heart. Get the AED on him, now." Jessica worked fast, tearing open Foster's shirt and placing the pads on his chest. The automated voice of the defibrillator cut through the tension, analyzing heart rhythm. "Do not touch the patient." Amanda grabbed the radio. "Denver Center, this is Southwest 447. We have a medical emergency. Captain is incapacitated, requesting immediate priority handling and medical assistance on landing." The controller's voice came back, professional but urgent. "Southwest 447, Roger. Squawk 7700. What is your situation?" "Captain Foster is unconscious, possible heart attack. I'm the only pilot. Need vectors to nearest suitable airport." There was a long pause. Amanda could almost hear the controller's brain processing. "Southwest 447, nearest airport is Colorado Springs, 60 miles south. Alternative is Denver, 90 miles northeast. Weather is clear at both. Can you continue?" Amanda's jaw tightened. "Affirmative. I can fly this plane, but I need support." Behind her, the AED delivered a shock. Foster's body jerked, but he didn't wake up. Jessica started CPR, her hands pressing rhythmically on his chest. In the cabin, passengers were getting nervous. The seatbelt sign was still on, and the plane felt different, like it was being handled by someone less confident. Maya unbuckled her seatbelt and moved to the aisle. She didn't know why. Instinct, maybe. She walked toward the front, ignoring a flight attendant's gesture to sit down. "Miss, please return to your seat," the attendant said. "Something's wrong with the pilots, isn't it?" Maya said quietly. The attendant's face gave it away, fear barely concealed. Maya's heart started pounding. "I need to talk to whoever's flying." "That's not possible. Please sit down." But Maya didn't move. She stood there, her grandmother's voice echoing in her head. "Stay calm. Assess the situation. Act decisively." In the cockpit, Amanda was fighting her own panic. She was a good pilot, but this was different, flying solo on a commercial aircraft with 78 lives depending on her, and Captain Foster wasn't waking up. "Jessica, how is he?" Amanda asked. "Not good. He needs a hospital now." Amanda made a decision. "We're going to Colorado Springs. It's closer. Get back to the cabin and prepare everyone for an emergency landing. Don't tell them about Foster yet, just say we're diverting due to a medical issue." Jessica nodded and left, her hands shaking. Amanda was alone now. Just her, the unconscious captain, and a plane full of people who had no idea how bad things were. She radioed Denver Center again. "Southwest 447, diverting to Colorado Springs. Request full emergency services on standby." "Southwest 447, Roger. Emergency services alerted. Descend and maintain 25,000 feet. Turn heading 180. Amanda began the descent, her hands steady despite the fear crawling up her spine. She'd done this in simulators 100 times, but simulators didn't have real people, unconscious captains, and frightened passengers. Then, without warning, Amanda felt it, a sharp pain in her head, a wave of dizziness. She blinked hard, trying to clear her vision. "No, not now, please not now." But the pain intensified. A migraine, she'd had them before, usually triggered by stress. She fumbled for her water bottle, swallowing hard, willing the pain to go away. It didn't. Her vision started to blur at the edges, the instrument panel swam in front of her. Amanda keyed the intercom, her voice strained. Jessica, I need help. Jessica's blood turned to ice when she heard Amanda's voice over the intercom. Something was wrong, terribly wrong. She rushed back to the cockpit, and what she saw made her knees weak. Amanda was hunched over, one hand pressed to her temple, her face contorted in pain. Captain Foster was still unconscious, the AED pads still on his chest. What's happening? Jessica's voice cracked. Migraine, Amanda gasped. Bad one. I can't see properly. Jessica's mind raced. 2 pilots down, a plane full of passengers, this couldn't be happening. Can you land? Jessica asked desperately. Amanda tried to focus on the instruments, but the numbers kept blurring. I don't know, maybe, but if I pass out. She didn't finish the sentence. She didn't have to. Jessica grabbed the radio, her hands shaking so hard she almost dropped it. Denver Center, this is Southwest 447. Both pilots are incapacitated. We need, what did they need? A miracle. The controller's voice came back, tight with barely controlled alarm. Southwest 447, say again. Both pilots. Yes. Captain had a heart attack. Co-pilot has a severe migraine. She can barely see. There was silence on the other end. Then, Southwest 447, stand by. Jessica knew what that meant. They were scrambling, trying to figure out how to land a commercial aircraft with no functioning pilots. The controller came back. Southwest 447, we're contacting United pilots in the area, checking for off-duty pilots on your passenger list. Hold your current heading. Jessica turned to Amanda. Can you hold on? Just hold on until we figure something out. Amanda nodded weakly, but her hands were slipping off the controls. The autopilot was engaged, but someone needed to be ready to take over. Someone needed to land this plane in less than 30 minutes. In the cabin, passengers were starting to panic. Word had spread somehow. Maybe someone had overheard Jessica's radio call. Maybe it was just the collective intuition of 78 people sensing disaster. A man in row 14 stood up, his voice loud. What's going on? Why are we descending? Another passenger, a woman with 2 kids, started crying. Are we going to crash? Jessica emerged from the cockpit, her face pale but composed. Everyone, please stay calm. We are diverting to Colorado Springs due to a medical emergency. We need you to remain seated with your seatbelts fastened. Is it the pilot? Someone shouted. Jessica didn't answer. She couldn't. Maya was still standing in the aisle near row 5. She'd heard everything through the thin cockpit door. Both pilots down, no one to land the plane. Her grandmother's wooden box felt heavy in her hoodie pocket. She'd tucked it there for safekeeping. Now she pulled it out, opened it, and stared at the pilot wings inside. You have her hands, steady hands. Maya closed the box and walked toward Jessica. I can help. Jessica looked at her like she'd lost her mind. Sweetie, please sit down. I'm a pilot, Maya said. Well, not certified yet, but I've been training for 5 years. I have over 300 hours in simulators. I know this aircraft. Jessica blinked. You're a kid. I'm 17, and I'm the closest thing you have to a pilot right now. Jessica wanted to laugh or cry, maybe both. You're not serious. I am. I've flown Boeing 737 simulators. I know the systems, I know the procedures. Maya's voice was calm, but her heart was hammering. I can't promise I'll do it perfectly, but I can try. Jessica stared at her for a long moment. This was insane, completely insane. But what choice did they have? Wait here, Jessica said, and rushed back to the cockpit. Amanda was barely holding on, her head resting against the side window. Any luck? She whispered. There's a passenger, Jessica said. A teenager. She says she's trained on simulators, Boeing 737s. Amanda's eyes flickered open. A teenager. She's all we have. Amanda closed her eyes. The pain in her head was unbearable, like someone was driving a spike through her skull, but she was still conscious enough to understand the situation, still conscious enough to know they were out of options. Bring her up, Amanda said. Jessica went back to the cabin. Maya was waiting, her face pale but determined. Come with me, Jessica said. They walked to the cockpit together. Every passenger watched them go, some with hope, most with fear. When Maya stepped into the cockpit, the first thing she saw was Captain Foster, still unconscious, the AED pads on his bare chest. The second thing she saw was Amanda, slumped in the captain's seat, barely able to hold her head up. Maya's stomach twisted, but she forced herself to stay calm. This was real. This wasn't a simulation. These were real people, real lives. "You're the girl?" Amanda asked, her voice weak. "Yes, ma'am. My name is Maya Chen. I've been training on X-Plane and Microsoft Flight Simulator for 5 years. I specialize in Boeing 737s. I know the systems, the checklists, the procedures." Amanda opened her eyes a little wider. "Have you ever flown a real plane?" Maya hesitated. "I've flown Cessnas. About 20 hours of real flight time with an instructor." 20 hours. Amanda wanted to laugh or cry. 20 hours in a Cessna versus landing a Boeing 737 with 78 people on board. But they were out of options. "Okay," Amanda said. "Sit down. Right seat." Maya slid into the co-pilot seat, her hands trembling as she gripped the controls. The cockpit was smaller than she'd imagined, more cramped, more real. Amanda reached over and turned off the autopilot. "I'm going to talk you through this, but you're going to have to do most of it." "I can barely see." Maya nodded, her throat tight. Amanda keyed the radio. "Denver Center, Southwest 447. We have a passenger taking controls. She has simulator training on 737s. We're going to need all the help you can give us." There was a long pause on the other end. Then the controller's voice came back, steady and professional. "Southwest 447, roger. We're clearing all traffic. You're priority 1. We'll guide you in." Maya's hands gripped the yoke. It was heavier than she expected, more resistance. In the simulator, everything was smooth, responsive. This was different, real metal, real hydraulics, real weight. "Okay," Amanda said, her voice strained but steady. "First, trim the aircraft. You see that wheel between us?" Maya nodded. "Trim wheel. I know it. Good. The plane's a little nose heavy right now. Give it a few clicks back." Maya reached for the trim wheel and adjusted it. The plane's nose lifted slightly. "Better," Amanda said. "Now check your altitude and airspeed." Maya scanned the instruments. Altitude 24,500 feet, descending. Airspeed 290 knots. "Good. We're descending at about 1,500 feet per minute. That's normal for now. Keep that rate steady." Maya's eyes darted across the panel. Altimeter, airspeed indicator, vertical speed, heading. She'd memorized all of this, practiced it 1,000 times, but now it was real, now it mattered. The radio crackled. "Southwest 447, Denver Center. Turn left, heading 160, vectors for Colorado Springs." Maya reached for the heading knob, her fingers fumbling, and twisted it to 160. The plane began a gentle turn. "Use the autopilot heading feature," Amanda said. "Don't try to hand fly it yet." "Right, autopilot." Maya's hands were sweating. She pressed the heading select button and the plane straightened out. Amanda winced, pressing her hand to her temple. "You're doing fine. Just breathe. Stay calm." Maya took a deep breath. Her grandmother's voice echoed in her head. "Stay calm. Assess the situation. Act decisively." In the cabin, Jessica was trying to keep everyone calm, but it wasn't working. Word had spread that a teenager was flying the plane. "A teenager? This is insane," the businessman in row 8 shouted. "We're all going to die because some kid thinks she can play pilot." Jessica held up her hands. "Sir, please, she's trained. She knows what she's doing. She's a child," a woman screamed. "This is murder." But not everyone was panicking. In row 12, the mother with the twin toddlers was praying quietly, her eyes closed. In row 15, the elderly couple still held hands, their faces calm. The husband leaned over to his wife. "If we go together," he whispered. In row 22, the college student had woken up and was watching everything with wide eyes. He pulled out his phone and started recording, his hands shaking. Maya heard none of it. She was focused entirely on the instruments, altitude, airspeed, heading, everything had to be perfect. "Southwest 447, you're 60 miles from Colorado Springs," the controller said. "Descend and maintain 15,000 feet. Reduce speed to 250 knots. Maya reached for the altitude knob, dialing in 15,000, then pulled back on the throttle, feeling the engines ease off. The plane began descending faster, too fast. Ease it back, Amanda said. You want 1,500 feet per minute descent rate, not 2,000. Maya adjusted the throttle, her hands shaking, and the descent rate smoothed out. Better, Amanda said. You're doing okay. But Amanda's voice was getting weaker, the migraine was winning. She slumped further in her seat, her eyes half closed. Amanda, Maya's voice cracked. Stay with me, please. I'm here, Amanda whispered. Just keep going. You can do this. The radio crackled again. Southwest 447, we have a ground instructor standing by, retired 737 captain. He'll talk you through the landing. A new voice came over the radio, older, calm, authoritative. Southwest 447, this is Captain John Hayes. I flew 737s for 28 years. I'm going to get you on the ground. Safely. Can you hear me? Yes, sir, Maya said, her voice small. I can hear you. Good. What's your name? Maya. Maya Chen. Okay, Maya, you're doing great so far. Now let's talk about landing this bird. First, tell me what you know about approach speeds. Maya's mind raced. Approach speed depends on weight. For a 737 to 800, it's usually around 130 to 150 knots. Excellent. You know your stuff. Now, Colorado Springs runway is 13,500 feet long, plenty of room. Even if you land long, you'll be fine. Don't worry about being perfect, just get it on the ground. Okay, Maya said, but her hands were shaking harder now. Maya, listen to me, Captain Hayes said. I want you to remember something. The airplane wants to fly. It's designed to fly. Your job is just to guide it. Don't fight it. Work with it. Maya nodded, even though he couldn't see her. Okay. Southwest 447, turn left, heading 130. You're being vectored for the ILS approach to runway 35 right. Maya adjusted the heading, her heart pounding so hard she could hear it in her ears. Amanda stirred slightly. Maya, the landing gear. You'll need to lower it when you're about 10 miles out. Landing gear. Got it. And the flaps. Start with flaps 5 at 10 miles, then flaps 15 at 5 miles, full flaps when you're on final. Maya's mind raced, trying to remember everything. Flaps 5, flaps 15, full flaps, landing gear. Southwest 447, you're 30 miles from the airport. Descend and maintain 10,000 feet. Maya dialed in the new altitude, and the plane continued its descent. In the cabin, people were praying, some out loud, some silently. Jessica moved through the aisles, checking seatbelts, trying to project calm she didn't feel. The businessman in row 8 had stopped shouting. He just sat there, staring out the window, his face gray. The woman with the 2 kids was holding them close, whispering that everything would be okay. Maya's phone buzzed in her pocket. She'd forgotten it was there. A text from her mom. Landing soon, call me when you get in. Maya almost laughed. If only her mom knew. Southwest 447, 20 miles from the airport. Maintain 8,000 feet. Slow to 200 knots. Maya pulled back on the throttle again, feeling the engines quiet further. The plane slowed. You're doing great, Maya, Captain Hayes said. Now, in about 5 minutes, I'm going to talk you through extending the landing gear and flaps. But first, I want you to take a deep breath. Can you do that for me? Maya inhaled slowly, deeply. Yes, sir. Good. Now exhale. And remember, thousands of pilots land 737s every single day. This is just another landing. You've got this. But it wasn't just another landing. Maya knew that. Captain Hayes knew that. Everyone on that plane knew that. Southwest 447, 15 miles from the airport. Descend and maintain 6,000 feet. Maya dialed in 6,000 feet, her fingers moving more confidently now. She was getting the feel of it, the rhythm. Okay, Maya, Captain Hayes said. It's time to configure the aircraft for landing. First, I want you to find the gear lever. It's on your right side, near your knee. Maya looked down. There it was, a large lever with a wheel symbol. I see it. Good. When I tell you, push it down, but not yet. First, make sure your airspeed is below 250 knots. Maya checked. Airspeed 210 knots. Perfect. Now, extend the gear. Maya's hand trembled as she reached for the lever and pushed it down. A mechanical whirring sound filled the cockpit. 3 green lights appeared on the panel. 3 green lights, Maya said. Geared down and locked. Excellent. Captain Hayes sounded genuinely proud. Now, flaps. You see the flap lever? Yes, sir. Set flaps 5. Maya moved the lever to the 5 position. The plane's nose dipped slightly as the flaps extended. Good. Now slow to 180 knots. And Maya, remember to keep your eyes on the altitude, don't let it drop too fast. Maya's eyes darted between the airspeed indicator and the altimeter. 185 knots, 180 knots, altitude holding steady at 6,000 feet. Southwest 447, 10 miles from the airport. Turn left, heading 090. You're being vectored onto the final approach course. Maya turned the heading knob, and the plane banked gently left. Amanda stirred in the captain's seat. Maya, you're doing amazing, she whispered, her voice barely audible. Thank you, Maya said, not taking her eyes off the instruments. Southwest 447, 8 miles from the airport. Descend and maintain 4,000 feet. Set flaps 15. Maya descended and extended the flaps further. The plane slowed to 160 knots. Below them, Colorado Springs was coming into view. Maya could see the city sprawling across the plains, the mountains rising to the west, and there, straight ahead, the airport, runways stretching like gray ribbons. Southwest 447, you're cleared to land runway 35 right. Wind 340 at 8 knots. Maya's heart jumped. Cleared to land. This was it. Okay, Maya, Captain Hayes said. You're 5 miles out. Set flaps 30 and slow to 140 knots. Maya moved the flap lever. The plane slowed further. Now you should see the runway ahead. Do you see it? Maya leaned forward, scanning the horizon. There, 2 long gray strips. I see it. Good. Now, here's what's going to happen. You're going to follow the glide slope down to the runway. You see the diamond symbol on your navigation display. Maya looked at the screen. A diamond shape was descending toward a horizontal line. Yes, keep that diamond centered. If it's above the line, you're too low. If it's below, you're too high. Centered means you're on the correct glide path. Maya's eyes locked onto the diamond. It drifted slightly below the line. She pulled back on the throttle a tiny bit and the diamond moved back toward center. Perfect, Captain Hayes said. You're a natural. But Maya didn't feel like a natural. She felt terrified. Her hands were slick with sweat, her heart racing, every muscle in her body tense. 3 miles out, Captain Hayes said. Set full flaps. Slow to 135 knots. That's your approach speed. Maya extended the flaps fully. The plane's nose dropped further. She adjusted the throttle, keeping the speed at 135 knots. The runway was getting closer, bigger. Maya could see the white markings, the lights along the edges. 2 miles out. You're looking good, Maya. Keep that glide slope centered. The diamond drifted up slightly. Maya added a touch of throttle, and it settled back. In the cabin, everyone was silent, even the babies had stopped crying. 78 people holding their breath. Jessica stood in the aisle near the front, her hands clasped so tight her knuckles were white. She was praying. She wasn't religious, but she was praying anyway. 1 mile out, Captain Hayes said. Okay, Maya, listen carefully. In about 30 seconds, you're going to see the runway threshold passing under you. When you're about 20 feet above the ground, I want you to slowly pull back on the yoke just a little. That's called the flare. It slows your descent rate. Flare at 20 feet, Maya repeated. Pull back on the yoke. Yes, and then when the wheels touch, don't do anything. Just let it settle. The plane will touch down on its own. Maya could see individual cars in the airport parking lot now. The runway was right there, right in front of her. 500 feet, Captain Hayes said. You're doing perfect. Keep it steady. The runway rushed up at her, faster than she expected. 300 feet, 200 feet. Maya's hands gripped the yoke so tight her fingers ached. 100 feet, 50 feet. The ground was right there. She could see the runway markings clearly, the lights. 20 feet. Flare now, Maya. Pull back gently. Maya pulled back on the yoke. The nose lifted. The plane seemed to float for a moment. Then the main wheels touched down, a gentle thump. Then the nose wheel, another thump. They were on the ground. Brakes, Captain Hayes shouted. Find the pedals at your feet. Press the tops to brake. Maya pressed down. The plane slowed, the engines roaring as thrust reversers deployed automatically. They were slowing, slowing, slowing. The plane rolled down the runway, shedding speed, 80 knots, 60 knots, 40 knots. Finally, it stopped. Maya sat there frozen, her hands still on the yoke. They were on the ground. They were alive. Southwest 447, you're down, the controller said, his voice thick with emotion. Emergency vehicles are approaching. You did it, Maya. You saved them all. In the cabin, there was a moment of stunned silence. Then someone started clapping. Then another person, then everyone. Applause erupted, mixed with cheers and laughter and shouts of relief. Maya sat in the co-pilot seat, tears streaming down her face, her hands shaking so badly she couldn't move them. Jessica burst into the cockpit and threw her arms around Maya. You did it. Oh my God, you did it. Amanda opened her eyes, smiling despite the pain. I knew you could, she whispered. Emergency vehicles surrounded the plane. Paramedics rushed on board, heading straight for Captain Foster. They loaded him onto a stretcher, working quickly. He was still alive, barely, but alive. They helped Amanda out next, supporting her as she walked down the aisle. Passengers reached out to touch her arm, to thank her. Maya was the last to leave the cockpit. When she stepped into the cabin, everyone stood up. The applause grew louder. People were crying, hugging each other, hugging her. The businessman from row 8, the one who'd shouted that she'd kill them all, stepped forward. His face was red, his eyes wet. I'm sorry, he said. I'm so sorry. Thank you. Maya nodded, not trusting herself to speak. Jessica walked with her down the aisle and out the door. When Maya stepped onto the jet bridge, her legs almost gave out. Jessica caught her. You okay? Jessica asked. Maya nodded. I think so. The airport terminal was chaos. News crews everywhere, cameras flashing, reporters shouting questions. Maya was led through a side door, away from the media frenzy, into a quiet office where officials were waiting. A woman in a suit introduced herself as an FAA inspector. Miss Chen, what you did today was extraordinary. Also completely illegal, but extraordinary. Maya almost laughed. Am I in trouble? No, the woman said, smiling slightly. But we do need to interview you, document everything, and you'll need to meet with investigators. The next few hours were a blur. Questions, paperwork, medical checks. Maya answered everything mechanically, still in shock. Captain Foster was rushed to the hospital. The initial report said he'd had a massive heart attack, but he was stable now, he'd live. Amanda's migraine had subsided, but she was kept overnight for observation. Before they took her away, she found Maya in the terminal. I need to tell you something, Amanda said. What you did today, most certified pilots couldn't have done. You have a gift. Maya shook her head. I was scared the whole time. That's what makes you a good pilot, Amanda said. Respect for the danger. Fear that keeps you focused. Don't lose that. By evening, Maya's story was everywhere. Social media exploded. News channels ran it non-stop. Teen pilot saves 78 lives. Flight simulator skills save the day. Miracle landing in Colorado. Her phone wouldn't stop ringing. Her parents, her friends, reporters, everyone. She turned it off and sat alone in a quiet corner of the airport, staring at her grandmother's pilot wings. A man approached, older, maybe 60, wearing a pilot's uniform with captain's stripes. He sat down next to her without asking. You're Maya Chen, he said. She nodded. I'm Captain Hayes, the one who talked you down. Maya's eyes widened. You saved my life. Everyone's life. Hayes shook his head. No, you did that. I just reminded you of what you already knew. He gestured to the pilot wings in her hand. Those belong to someone special. My grandmother. She was a pilot in the 70s. Hayes smiled. I met her once, a long time ago. Air show in Seattle. She was an incredible pilot. Landed a Cessna with no landing gear once, just the belly. Everyone walked away. Maya looked up. You knew her. A little. Not well, but I knew her reputation. She had a call sign. Echo 9. Did she ever tell you about that? Maya shook her head. She never talked much about her flying days. Hayes leaned back. Echo 9 was what they called her in the Air National Guard. She flew rescue missions. Dangerous stuff, mountains, storms, you name it. She never lost anyone, not once. That's a record most pilots can't match. Maya felt tears welling up again. Her grandmother had never told her any of this. All those hours they'd spent together talking about flying, and she'd never mentioned her call sign or her rescue missions. Why are you telling me this? Maya asked. Hayes smiled. Because today, when you took those controls, you became Echo 9. Not officially, of course, but up there in that cockpit, you carried on her legacy, and I think she'd be proud. He stood up, gave her a small salute, and walked away. Maya sat there for a long time, holding the pilot wings. Echo 9, her grandmother's call sign, her legacy. 3 days later, Maya was back in Seattle. The media circus had followed her home. Reporters camped outside her house. Her phone had over 10,000 unread messages. News vans blocked the street. Her parents were protective, keeping her inside, away from the cameras, but they were also in shock. Their quiet daughter, the one who spent all her time on flight simulators, had landed a commercial jet. Why didn't you tell us you were that good? Her father asked one evening. Maya shrugged. I didn't know I was. Her mother hugged her tight. Your grandmother would be so proud. On the 4th day, an official letter arrived from the Federal Aviation Administration. Maya's hands shook as she opened it. It wasn't a fine or a reprimand, it was an invitation. Dear Miss Chen, in recognition of your extraordinary actions on October 12th, the FAA would like to invite you to participate in an accelerated pilot certification program. Given your demonstrated skills and knowledge, we believe you qualify for advanced training that could lead to a commercial pilot's license upon turning 18. Additionally, several major airlines have expressed interest in sponsoring your flight training. Please contact us at your earliest convenience to discuss next steps. Maya read it 3 times, then called Captain Hayes, whose number the FAA had included. Did you do this? She asked when he picked up. Hayes chuckled. I made a few calls. But Maya, you earned this. Every word of that letter is true. You have a gift. Don't waste it. I'm only 17. I'm still in high school. So finish high school. Then come fly. The sky isn't going anywhere. Maya hung up and stared at the letter. A real future, not just dreams and simulators, real flying. But first, she had something to do. 2 months later, Maya stood outside Colorado Springs Airport. She'd asked to come back to see the place where everything had changed. The airport had arranged it quietly, no media, no fuss. She walked through the terminal to the same gate where Southwest 447 had arrived that day. The gate was empty now, just a few passengers waiting for a different flight. Maya looked out the window at the runway, runway 35 right. She could still see it in her mind, rushing up at her the moment the wheels touched down. Miss Chen. She turned. A man in a Southwest Airlines uniform stood there, not a pilot, ground crew based on his badge. Yes, I was here that day. I was one of the emergency responders on the runway. I just wanted to say thank you. My daughter was on that flight. Row 12, the one with the twin toddlers. Maya's throat tightened. Is she okay? She's fine. Thanks to you. He held out his hand. I know you've heard it 1,000 times, but I needed to say it in person. You saved my grandkids. You saved my daughter. Maya shook his hand, not trusting herself to speak. He handed her something, a small pin, Southwest Airlines wings. It's not official, but the pilots wanted you to have this. They said you earned it. Maya looked at the pin. It was silver, polished, beautiful. Thank you, she whispered. The man nodded and walked away. Maya stood there holding the pin, looking out at the runway. Somewhere in the back of her mind, she heard her grandmother's voice. Stay calm. Assess the situation. Act decisively. She'd done that. In the worst moment of her life, she'd stayed calm, she'd assessed the situation, she'd acted, and she'd saved 78 lives. Maya graduated high school early, finishing her final semester online while completing her private pilot's license. The accelerated program the FAA had offered was intense. Ground school, flight hours, simulator training, check rides, but she loved every minute of it. Captain Foster recovered fully. He'd had bypass surgery and was back to flying, though on lighter duty now. He sent Maya a message every week, checking on her progress, offering advice. Amanda Price was promoted to captain, and for her first flight in command, she requested Maya as an observer in the cockpit. Maya sat in the jump seat, watching Amanda work, learning from her. The passengers from Southwest 447 stayed in touch. They'd formed a group chat, sharing photos, updates, life milestones. Maya was part of it, though she mostly lurked, reading their messages, smiling at their jokes. The businessman from row 8, whose name was Richard, sent her a long apology letter. He'd been humbled by the experience, he wrote. He'd spent his whole life judging people by their appearance, their credentials. Maya had taught him that competence doesn't come with a title or a suit. The woman who'd been posting on social media during the crisis had deleted her accounts entirely. She sent Maya a private message. "I'm sorry. I was cruel. You showed me what real strength looks like." Jessica, the flight attendant, quit her job. She'd been traumatized by the experience, she said, but before she left, she sent Maya a gift, a framed photo of the cockpit from that day, signed by the entire crew. The college student who'd been filming had posted his video online. It had 50 million views, and he'd given all the ad revenue to Maya, who donated it to an aviation scholarship fund for underprivileged kids. And Maya kept flying. 1 year after the incident, Maya received her commercial pilot's license. At 18, she was one of the youngest commercial pilots in the country. Airlines were competing for her, offering training programs, signing bonuses, guaranteed positions. But Maya chose differently. She joined a small charter company in Alaska that specialized in medical evacuations and rescue operations, dangerous flying, mountain terrain, bad weather, the kind of flying her grandmother had done. Her call sign, given to her by the other pilots, was Echo 9. On her first solo rescue flight, Maya flew a Cessna Caravan into a remote village during a blizzard to pick up a sick child. The visibility was near zero, the wind was howling, but she landed safely, loaded the child and his mother, and flew them to the hospital in Anchorage. When she landed, the other pilots were waiting. They didn't say anything, they just nodded. One of them, an old bush pilot with 40 years of experience, gave her a slight smile. "Your grandmother would be proud," he said. Maya nodded. She knew he was right. Maya Chen, now 23, sat in the cockpit of a Boeing 737, but this time she was the captain, 4 stripes on her shoulder, her own command. Her co-pilot was a young man, fresh out of flight school, nervous and eager. He reminded her of herself 5 years ago. "Nervous?" Maya asked as they went through the pre-flight checklist. "A little," he admitted. Maya smiled. "That's good. It means you respect the responsibility. Never lose that." They pushed back from the gate. Maya taxied to the runway, ran through the final checks, and advanced the throttles. The plane accelerated, the nose lifted, and they were airborne. As they climbed through the clouds, Maya glanced at the jump seat behind her. Empty today, but sometimes she swore she could feel a presence there, her grandmother watching over her. On Maya's uniform, just above her name tag, was a small pin, her grandmother's original pilot wings from the 1970s. She wore them on every flight. Below the wings, in small letters, was her official call sign, Echo 9. The radio crackled. Southwest 2847, contact departure. Maya keyed the mic. Southwest 2847, contacting departure. Echo 9 out. The voice that came back was Captain Hayes, now working as an air traffic controller in his retirement. Echo 9, good to hear your voice. Climb and maintain 35,000 feet. Have a good flight. Maya smiled. Thank you, sir. We will. She leveled off at altitude, engaged the autopilot, and looked out at the sky, clear and blue and endless. Her co-pilot was staring at her. Echo 9. I've heard that call sign before. Isn't that my grandmother's? Maya said. And now mine. The one who landed the plane when the pilots were down. That was you. Maya nodded. The co-pilot's eyes widened. I read about that in flight school. They use it as a case study now. Emergency procedures, crisis management. You're like a legend. Maya shook her head. I'm not a legend. I'm just a pilot who did what needed to be done. Same as every other pilot up here. But deep down, she knew the truth. That day had changed her. It had shown her what she was capable of. It had given her purpose, and it had connected her to her grandmother in a way she never imagined. Echo 9 wasn't just a call sign. It was a legacy, a promise, a reminder that sometimes the most ordinary people are called to do extraordinary things. And when that call comes, you don't run from it. You answer. You take the controls and you fly.